Hi, this is Jeff Plowett, technical agronomist with Cooperative Farmers Elevator, and on this week's Field Friday segment, I kind of wanted to talk about our extreme weather we've had here this whole month, this past month of September, and kind of what it's done to us. We've talked before. There's a website that I use quite a bit to track, and forecast black layer dates on corn, different maturities, different GDUs, but basically it's a weather tracker by location. I started tracking in mid-August, and in some of the instances I've looked at certain hybrids and certain planting dates, and in an area we've picked up or gained about 2 weeks of time, sometimes even a little bit more than 2 weeks since mid-August on black layer dates, which is kind of incredible to gain that much in that short of a time. But the month of September has really been incredible. I look at the normal for the 30-year average or whatever I would call that as my normal, comparing it to what's happened this year. And in Dune, for instance, in Lyon County, we've gained 160 GDUs above average since the 10th of September. So basically in 3 weeks' time, we've gained 160 GDUs, which is why things have pushed forward so fast, way faster than we expected. Not that we're still going to end up with some wetter corn, especially if we end up planting, some of these later planting dates, the end of May, where we get into some of the weather issues we had this spring. But I thought we'd have a lot more wet corn than we're going to. We're actually getting some number 2 corn combine right out of the field right now on some of the earlier April planted stuff. It's really incredible what we've had. I've got a couple of charts here that are showing compared to the 130-year average. You can kind of see where we're at from a heat and a moisture perspective. We basically have had the 15th warmest September on record, and I really can't believe we've had 15 that were warmer than this, but that's what the data says. And then, so what's that done pushing stuff along? Obviously that's why we are and why we gained the heat units we did, especially in late September. And then if you look at the moisture map, we're basically the driest we've ever been for the month of September. And yeah, I don't know, we had, so little rain, I can believe that. So you can kind of see why our corn's been sped along the way it has. We've talked earlier about how the southern rust and some of the disease spectrum that we've had come in has really hammered this corn here at the end and shut it down quickly. With the moisture map and no rain in September, and didn't have much in August either, we had a lot of really dry soils, so this corn was probably struggling to take up that last nitrogen. These soils got so dry, kind of like we were the prior 2 years prior to this one. So I think we struggle to take up nitrogen at the end. We've all been around and seen some of the cracks out in the field again. That's another thing that's really hurt our stalks and probably sped the maturity here. And doing that's probably taken some of the top end off, even the better acres that we have. That last kernel flex, we call it, or kernel fill. If it was struggling to take up enough nitrogen to do that, it can cannibalize the stalks, but it's still not as adequate, not like having an adequate supply available in its roots under the root system. So I think that's kind of why we're seeing what we're seeing for yields, and why we're seeing some of these things out in the field. Crops going away really fast. I would guarantee you that every field you pull into with a combine, the corn's going to be drier than you think it will be. It just has had so many things that have sped this along. When you go that fast at the end, it's never great for yields, and I think we're seeing that out in some fields. So just wanted to touch on that. That's kind of something we've all been through with all this heat. It just seems like it's day after day. It feels, some of these mornings where it's a little cooler, you can put a jacket on, it kind of feels nice. But this is October, and we should have that. Even in September, we should have some of those mornings that are cooler, and we just didn't have a lot of them. And if you look at the advanced forecast, it's still going to be warm for a while here yet. So this trend will probably continue. So just wanted to show you where we're at historically compared to average from a moisture and a heat perspective. And yeah, we've all seen the results of that in the field. So with that, that's this week's Field Friday segment, and we'll see you next week.